Welcome back. Well, just before we shed or delve into the security matter, let's get back to Professor Sylvester Kane, Professor of Political Science, Lagos State University, who joins us via Skype. Good morning, Prof. We should be able to hear you now. So tell us, Prof, what was your impression when you learned about this NFIU guidelines on the local government funds?
I think simple. I think that the Nigerian government is trying to play safe within the details of the international financial system. Of course, you know, some of these things that have been put in place, anti-laundering policies came into effect, you know, post 9/11, which they are trying to tighten control of finances, getting to terrorists, you know, globally. But having said that, my worry is that the new regulation compounds what I see as the contradictions of the Nigerian state. The provisions of the constitutions are very clear. And we have quite a number of laws, you know, that regulate financial crimes in the country. Sundry laws do exist in this regard. But when you begin to create all of these extra legal processes, what for me it does is that it compounds the contradiction of the Nigerian state, in that Nigeria ought to be experimenting or operating a federal system. But when you then impute direct control from the center, that contradicts the essentiality of the Nigerian Federation, you know, which has been compounded by a lot of reforms that have taken place in the past. The 1976 local government reform, for instance, you know, tried to centralize the local government system, which of course negates the regional system that was in place even pre-independence, you know, Nigeria. So these are my worries about these new laws, the new regulation, of course, of guidelines, because I've seen that quite a number of people have expressed enthusiasm, you know, that all of this will go a long way to curb, you know, corruption within the system. For me, it does not solve any problem. We have to go back to the basic in terms of, you know, restructuring the Nigerian state to allow regions to determine the number of local governments that they have in the country, that they should have.
In other words, Prof,
yeah.
Are you saying, and tell us if you are, that these NFIU guidelines cannot or will not be implemented on June 1st?
If the state governors know they are right, they will definitely go to the court to checkmate it, because it violates even their constitutional provision, you know, within the 1999 Constitution as amended, you know, despite even the contradiction of that document.
Wow. So how should we be approaching this, knowing that, well, they can go to court to ensure that this doesn't see the light of day? What should we be doing then in order to address the challenge?
The point is that we need to go back to the basic. It is not something you do on the spur of the moment. The NFIU regulation or guideline is simply playing to the details of agencies of global governance, nothing more. But in terms of, you know, local governance in Nigeria, we need to go back to the basics. Regions in the federation, regions are supposed to create the number of local government they need to govern their space. But what we have had in Nigeria is that because of military incursion, post-1966, what you have, every policy points in the direction of central control of local government. And this is an abnormality that must be corrected.
So, Prof, assuming that happens, how does that address the question of corporate governance, ensuring that funds that are meant for local governments are actually utilized for the purpose?
That is the point. The democratic system in Nigeria has its gray areas. But when you have, you know, laws put in place, because I mean, the people have expressed the feeling about the imperial disposition of the state governors. But you know that in a democracy, the legislature ought to be the Govt of democracy. But it has not been so, because there has not been what the people have referred severally to internal democracy, you know, in Nigeria. And so when you have a constitution, you know, that is, you know, to some extent, right, people can operate within that context and expand the band of freedoms in terms of, the autonomy of local government, operations in the country.
In looking at the entire scenario to see how functional it can be, we also do know, I mean, a lot of guests have alluded to that, where they say, look, where you have state independent electoral commissions, if they conduct elections, you could bet that the government or whichever party is in power in those states gets, if not 100% of the votes. That raises a big question. Secondly, the state houses of assembly, many just think that they're not living up to their billing. So is that double jeopardy in the manner of speaking to ensure that the checks and balances exist, even if states have the power to create local government areas?
But you see, you don't correct what is wrong, with another wrong recipe. It doesn't work that way. If systems have contradictions, you have to deal with those contradictions. And when you talk about strengthening democracy, that's what you call people power. And, the Nigerian people should be able to, of course, enforce their rights, to ensure that their will prevails within the democratic system. Because we have these contradictions, governor rigging the electoral process within states does not mean that, of course, we should do the wrong thing. What we should do is to go back to the basics, as I said, to correct, the Nigerian skewed federal system.
All right, Prof. We appreciate your thoughts this morning, and we'll always get across to you for subsequent conversations on this subject matter. We've been speaking with Professor Sylvester Ojeonakin, Professor of Political Science, Lagos State University. He also edited Local Government Administration in Nigeria, the old and new versions.